I have just 3 objectives for this homily this morning. First and foremost, to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. Second, to make your parents cry. Third, not to cry myself in the process. As you know, along with Sister Joan, I am honored to, in a sense, graduate with you all, the St. Ambrose class of 2021, as I take on new responsibilities this summer. And because Bishop preached last Sunday for our Mass of Farewell for Sister Joan, we thought it might be appropriate for me to preach this commencement Mass. And I am blessed, humbled, and honored to do it. First, let me address those graduating today. As a class, you have been through more than most during your years here, perhaps more than any other class in many decades. And I am thinking first, of course, of what you have endured with such grace, determination, and resilience in the past year and 2 months since it was first announced that we would be moving to distance learning due to the pandemic. And then throughout this very different and difficult, but I believe largely safe and successful academic year of in-person learning here on campus. But also you have been in college during some of the strangest, most tense, divisive, and turbulent times in the recent history of our country. And please understand, I mean that without any hint of partisanship. Whatever your political stripe, I think we can say that objectively. My freshman year here as a student was a presidential election year, Bill Clinton versus Bob Dole. And this past fall, all I could think of was, why couldn't we have those boring choices again? Then again, voter turnout that year was the lowest it had been for a presidential election since 1948. And this past fall saw the highest voter turnout for a presidential election by far since the 1960s. But my point is, you really witnessed something here during these first, and we know, very formative years of your young adulthood. You also witnessed something that was not new, but for many was new to our eyes, or at least seen in new ways, in the unjust and disproportionate treatment of not a few of our black brothers and sisters at the hands of some of those sworn to protect and serve. You witness both the unrest and the peaceful protests and this great national examination of conscience and racial reckoning that is still unfolding. But also you have, I hope, been witness to the beginning of healing, perhaps first in yourselves, as you turned these things over in your own hearts and minds. You have witnessed, I pray, the start of a new and more hopeful chapter in this story that we know is long from over. At the very least, I hope you experience something of this reconciliation and call to action here among this community of Ambrosians, and that you are personally convicted and committed to carrying forward the cause of justice and peace in our world. All of this, the pandemic, the social and political events of our time, have in themselves provided you with a formidable education. It has not been easy, and you have endured much. But you have also not done it alone. You did it with the support of loving family, faithful friends, professors who both challenged and supported you, coaches and mentors who inspired you to keep going. Above all, I hope you recognize that you made it through all this with the help and grace of God. I think you do know this, and that is why you are here in this chapel this morning to offer thanksgiving, Eucharist, to God for graces received. We heard in the gospel Jesus say these words to his disciples, "It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you." I believe that God chose you for this place and for this time. And if this is so, you can be equally sure that your leaving this place does not mean that God is done with you. He will go with you and will keep choosing you to do the work he has given and prepared you to do. Continuing that statement, Jesus says, "It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain." And you will do this. You will bear fruit that will remain by imitating him, by remaining in his love, and by your willingness to lay down your lives for others in the classroom, in the clinic, the studio, the stage, the office, the lab, the hospital or care facility, in your communities, your families, and your churches. It is not a question of whether or not we are called to serve each other, to lay down our lives for each other, but only a question of how. And then there is a way to go about this, like bees. When I tell people who are unfamiliar with St. Ambrose University that we are the fighting bees, they usually laugh. But I love it. I would rather be a bee than anything. Why? Because bees go about their work diligently, cooperatively, and largely unnoticed. And yet they are fearsome, especially in numbers. And their work, we know, is absolutely vital for the life of the world. You, like them, are called to be so many great pollinators, making connections between people and institutions at every level of society and bringing about new life wherever you go. And so go about your work like bees, as we heard in the second reading, with heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Now, I would like to say a word to your parents and other family who have joined us here today. Get your tissues ready. Here's what I have to say to you. Thank you. Thank you for entrusting to our care and instruction for these past years these, your sons and daughters, who we know are more dear to you than anything in the world. As we were reminded in the first reading this morning from Sirach, these are your children whose precious life and growth you have fostered from the womb. These are your children who bring such joy to your hearts. Thank you for sharing them with us for a little while. And we were not babysitting them here, though maybe some of you would have liked that. No, we tried to treat them here as adults because they are, albeit young adults. But let's be honest, compared to God, we are all young. We are all still figuring things out, improvising day to day what it means to be most fully and authentically human. But yes, we have tried to treat them as adults. And a part of that means allowing them to make their own decisions and work through the consequences. I hope at least that we have given them the support and the structures they needed to make good decisions, to learn and to grow in mind, body, and spirit. If nothing else, but maybe most importantly, I hope we have provided them with a safe place to fail, but then to get back up, to move forward, to begin again, and to discover in that process a pattern that will repeat itself many times over in life, but will in the end bear the richest and most lasting of fruit. So again, parents and family, thank you. I cannot imagine how dear these daughters and sons of yours must be to you, knowing how dear they have become to me and to all of us in such a short time as we have known them. Okay, a couple little drops. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Lastly, once again, to our very soon-to-be graduates, know how happy we are for you and proud of you we are. God has done and will continue to do such wondrous things in you and through you. And so know of our most sincere prayers and best wishes for you all in the years to come. Now go like bees into the world. Go bear fruit that will remain.